online that showed these like grid-like patterns in Utah that look like they're ancient. They're in the desert. Some grid-like patterns in the desert of Africa. And yeah, and if you find them, let me know, because yeah, again, I didn't have a whole lot of luck other than finding this today. So the next thing that I'm going to go to is star forts. Now, I don't know if you know what star forts are. What we are told that star forts are they are also called bastion forts, and they say that they were used for protection in wars. Like they would put cannons. Oops, my mouse is always like yelling at me. Anyway, they would put cannons. I believe they said like in the corners of these star forts, but for the longest time, I didn't even know that these existed. And the fact is that like the buildings that I showed you in the last video that are very, very similar all over the world, these star forts can also be found all over the world. And again, you don't usually notice them unless they are from the sky. Now, what we are told, or what I've read, is that these star forts were actually from, no, not all of them were built at this time, but they originated in medieval times, and that they kind of were brought back around the 18th century. They started building them for protection for wars, which, you know, you do need to have some sort of fortification to protect yourself. And this one here does look more fortress-like to me. Like I could definitely see how that would be for protection. But my question is just, you know, same question as with the buildings. How were they able to be so meticulous when they obviously had no way of being able to see from the sky what they were doing? And I know that a lot of people will say that they were very mathematically precise, and they were, you know. And I spoke to someone else, and really, if you look at what the people of today can do compared to what the people of a couple hundred years ago can do, entropy is fully in motion. We are certainly declining over time in our in certain areas, and architecture is one of those areas. We just don't have the talents that we once did. So, you know, it might make sense to you that a lot of these star forts would be found in, you know, the United States or like in some European countries, and they are. But other than wondering how they did this, I'm also wondering, now a lot of the times that they say some of these star forts were being built was during wartime. So how are they able to build these intricate star forts in the middle of a war? It doesn't make sense to me. And the same thing goes with the buildings. It's like the same thing. Here, let me just show you really quickly. So I have here a list of bastion forts. This here, all of these numbers, those are all countries that have bastion forts. All of these. So like if you click on one, we'll click on one in, say, Croatia. And then it will tell you, actually that one doesn't have a picture of the star fort. Some of them, not all of them, will have pictures of the actual star forts. So I should have clicked on a different country. You know what, instead of going there, I think that it will be easier for me to just go right here on the images. So I'll type in star forts of India, and these are star forts in India. And some of them look ancient. I mean, and I don't mean ancient just by being built in the 18th century. I mean much, much older than that. And we're back to that same anomaly of similar structures like the pyramids, like the buildings that I showed you in my last video. These are also found all over the world. And yeah, you could say that, you know, someone had mentioned that the buildings could be because of, you know, England was colonizing a lot of different areas. But the fact is that they are in dozens and dozens of countries. And these buildings were all built in a time England was always going through all sorts of wars. And I can't logistically see them not only colonizing all these different countries, but also building these beautiful buildings, and then also building these beautiful star forts at the same time. I don't know. And to me, this definitely does show evidence that there was some sort of global civilization, but I don't know that I believe that it was England. Because again, if we believe the history that we're taught, England was, they were at war quite a bit, and they always seemed to be at war at the time that all of the buildings in the last video and all of these star forts, well, not all of them, but at least some of the newer ones from the 18th century when they were built. So